Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the leader of Uzushio? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. As I went to sleep, Susanoo decided we had a chat. I woke up in the greenery I had made for him. Hello Madara, I have been watching your journey and I decided there is something I must teach you. It is the ultimate Taijutsu, but first you must get the Rinnegan. I was looking through your chakra network and I found something interesting. Asura and Indra were both sons of Hagoromo, but there were others such as Amaterasu or Raijin. All of them had a different attribute of Hagoromo. Asura had the ideals, Indra had the chakra, Amaterasu had the sage chakra and sage abilities, and Raijin had the physical abilities plus one extra, which was the ability to travel anywhere he had wished via lightning. That was because a demon called Zero Tails invaded his mind and gave him one little drink which gave him this ability. The Nidaime had recreated the Raijin ability simply because he was in fact distantly related. The Nidaime took after his father and the Shodaime took after his mother. But what you don't know is that the father was not a Senju, but a Hotaki. Now Minato had taken all the genes, his grandfathers, his fathers, his mothers, his grandmothers as well as his uncle. This made Raijin easier. But if you didn't know, Amaterasu is the father of Uzumaki. Asura had taken part but was the father of all Senju. Indra had taken part in the creation of Uzumaki, but he was the father of the Uchiha. Raijin however was married to Amaterasu's daughter, which gave the Uzumaki, the sage chakra, and the physical abilities of the Rakuto Sennin, but Indra had taken some of the Uzumaki genes when he was making the Mangekyo, which gave the Uzumaki the sage's normal chakra, and finally Amaterasu's other daughter was married to Asura. The Uzumaki had inherited all those traits, but it was said on the 16th person in the lineage of Uzumaki would hold all their powers which would create a new Taijutsu. You young Uzumaki are the 16th person, whoever you may spawn, they will be with your abilities, albeit a little diluted. You will get the Rinnegan first, then the other Taijutsu will manifest. Then me and you will be training. Susanoo said. Okay, so let me get this straight, I may get 4 Taijutsu. Yes, and Natsumi will get another called the Jogan. He replied. Okay. I woke up and sunlight hit my face. Oh right, we were in a forest. I woke up and set fire. I brought out a flat pan and added oil. I started adding the ingredients needed for miso soup, ramen and rice balls. By the time I had started on the rice balls, Natsumi walked over. It was just then I realized that she was just beautiful. She was a beautiful all this time, but I hadn't thought that because she was my friend. She was looking at me weirdly. She loves you, I can sense it. She is immensely in love with you, just as you were before you suppersted. Susanoo said. She walked over and hid the look. Was he just staring at me? Maybe that means he loves me. Who am I kidding, he will never notice. Need some help? Of course, Natsumi. I replied to her bubbly. It turns out Natsumi is great at rice balls, but miso soup needs some help and meanwhile I was stealing myself. Natsumi, I have come to an understanding with myself lately. I had somebody else helping me, but I have come to understand that I have feelings in my heart and all of them are towards you. I believe that feeling to be love. I have never loved anyone like I love you. I hope you feel the same because I am madly and totally in love with you for years now. I said. She stared at me, her mouth open. Just as she leaned and our lips were about to meet, Mito jumped out of nowhere. So, all this time, you guys pretended to be making breakfast whilst we were asleep, but you were all smooching. She said. Mito, if you tell anyone, I will tell them the thing. I said. No, not the thing you swore you would never say. Then you must swear you will never say until I am ready to release this. Meanwhile, in the forest Ino and Sasuke were having their own smooching session. Oh, Mito, Haku is here, we will meet him later. I said. Yes, finally, then I can tell him the thing. She said. Then she ran away. I looked at Natsumi and hugged her. Finally, I have somebody. I am also completely in love with you and no room for anyone else. She said. Then before my mom or dad are awakened, let's get married. Yoruzo did promise Hashirama or Mito that his offspring would marry one of theirs. I replied with a massive grin. Yes, I thought you would be too slow, but turns out you are on my speed frequency. She said with her own grin. Okay, now before somebody else finds out before the wedding, let's make breakfast. I said. 30 minutes later, I did Akamasu. Everybody said before digging in. Natsumi and I smiled at each other before eating, and I noticed Ino came back with humongous blush, whilst Sasuke looked to have a stupid grin. So, Sasuke finally showed interest in somebody. I said teasing him. Yeah, I finally showed Ino my love. He said. Took you long enough. I replied. Yeah, well we decided to have a wedding in Yuzu. Sasuke added. Natsumi nodded. Let's make it a joint one. Natsumi said. Why, who are you getting married to? Ino asked. Oh, you know, the one who I made breakfast with. Natsumi said. Everybody stared at me. Why you thought I loved Ino, don't get me wrong, she is beautiful, but she suits Sasuke better. I mean, she did love him ever since she heard his name. Itsumi, on the other hand, is my other third. Mito is my twin sister, so she is my other third. That is until she gets a suitable candidate. I said. Uzushio, how do you guys feel about the Yuzu harbor? I asked. The harbor is perfect. Though we should make sure it goes on till twilight, then we can see the stars. Also, who should we invite? Mitsumi asked. We must include Madara, Tsunade, Obito, Rin, Kakashi, Haku, Jiraiya, Itachi, Fugaku and Mikoto. Anyone else is extra that you guys can decide. I said as Sasuke agreed. Finally, Kakashi came back after burning his book. He took off his mask and ate with us. I decided I need other clothes. So, when we get back to Konoha, new clothes. He said. Kakashi, we are getting married in Uzushio next week and we are inviting, want to come? I asked. Of course. He replied. After we finished, I picked up Tazuna and sped off, see you all on the flip side. I said before I was out of view. After 30 minutes we arrived and to be honest, I was shocked. The place was devastatingly poor. People were sleeping on the floor and a kid came up tried to steal before I grabbed him by the hand. He had taken an apple and I gave him another apple and a packet of seeds. Plant that in somewhere safe and water it every day. I ordered. He hugged me with tears in his eyes and he gave both his sisters the apple and they ate. I walked up to them. Where are your parents? I asked. My dad was killed and my mom was stolen by a short man who said he was going to have fun with her. The boy said. I will take you and your mom somewhere safe. Do you want that? I asked. Yes. He replied. I looked at Tazuna and he pointed to the east. I walked there and I found a house and miraculously, the whole team were outside and just about to knock. Tsunami, open up. Tazuna said. Instead, a little boy around Konohamaru's age. However, the boy looked to be miserable and grumpy, something I could pin on the town. Inari, show some respect for the visitors, a young woman who looked to be in her 30s, long brown hair which reached her mid-back, an apron covering her slightly muscular and hergless build. Currently her hair was tied in a bun. She opened the door for them and asked a boy now named Inari to show us to room, obviously girls in one and boys in another. Sasuke, after this come with me, I want to talk. I asked. Sure. Sasuke replied. I walked to my room and set down my stuff in a corner. Sasuke met with me outside the room. We walked outside and into a forest. Sasuke, you're my first and best male friend, and if I were to count anyone as a brother, it would be you. So, I want you to be if when we have a child in the distant future, I want you to be his godfather. I asked. Madara, I never thought you would ask that, though I count you as a brother, I accept the request and would like to request one as well. Sasuke said. Will you be my child's godfather? Whenever he may be born. Sasuke asked. I smiled and shook his hand. Of course. I said. Now for the girls, we got to get a gift for all the girls. Will I have to get one for Mito as well? I got it. You get Ino, a sword made from jade, it's easy, just go to your summons. Ask for some jade and we will forge it together. For Natsumi, I will get a new locket as per family tradition. I will make a necklace with a piece of that jade, mixed with dragon scale and phoenix essence, to make it have some abilities. If you want, I can give the jade abilities. I said. Awesome. He answered. We walked back, how about a single date, then back in Konoha, a double date. Nah, we will have to train when we go back, the Chunin exams begin in 3 months, and considering our plans, we must be prepared. Sasuke said. But we could add time for one. Finally, we made it back. 1 week later, after a week, we had started escorting Tazuna to the bridge ever since the Demon Brothers incident. A few no-name samurais, an odd ninja came, but all died after literally a look from Sasuke. As we were just entering the bridge. A massive boom as a boom exploded and the bride had a gigantic crater as Zabuza and Haku fought off Gato and his thugs and before a word was said, Mito jumped into the fray. Haku was now side by side with the only people he cared about. They fought everyone until a poison senbon hit Haku, not realizing it's poison, he just threw it off. I noticed a green liquid flying when he did and rage filled me, Susanoo. Next to me, a figure burst into existence in a fiery explosion. We took out our blades as another of those senbon hit Mito and Natsumi. We encased our blades in fire and in a gigantic swoop, half of them were dead. Susanoo, rage in his eyes, threw his blade into the sky as did I. I sent an electric bolt to it and a lightning bolt struck it and not stopping ours down to my hand as it did Susanoo's. The sword fell into my left hand as the lightning arsed into my right. It formed a ball and I added fire and crimson lightning formed and my Sharingan formed the Manjikyu, making the fire a slightly darker hint, but it deactivated due to the seal I added. I rushed at the enemy and threw my sword as a dragon formed where it landed and tore through the enemy and finally, the sword exploded. Then I shoved my lightning sphere into Gato. Mito, and unconsciously transformed into my demon state. My sword flying into my hand as it transformed into an axe, and it swerved through the air and cut off his legs and then his arms, and after his screams, I shoved my burning axe into his stomach and watched as he screamed. After he had died, his head was cut off. I grabbed his body and threw it into the ocean and formed a fire cloud to incinerate the bodies of the dead. Susanoo walked over to Mito and pulled the poison and started applying herbs which just popped into his hand. He did the same to the others. As I watched this happening, my manjikyu formed and a flower-like pattern occurred, Sasuke's manjikyu, except with the small upside-down triangles in the ridges of the pattern and small triangles. Mito's was identical to mine. Sasuke's somehow had formed and it had the flower pattern except with no triangles. I swapped one with Mito whilst she was still asleep. I swapped my other eye with Sasuke. Sasuke's other eye was in Mito, whilst Mito's other eye was in Sasuke, and instead of turning into an eternal manjikyu, our Sharingan spun and spun until we were in another dimension. Our eyes kept on spinning until they turned purple, but it kept spinning until Sasuke's turned crimson, Mito's turned blue, mine turned golden, with silver flecks. Embrace your destiny, father. A man said. Hagoromo Otsutsuki, it's time to reveal your true potential, awaken from your slumber, storm this world, show everyone your power. Another man said. Hagoromo, you must stop Kagaya. Another man who had walked out from the corner. Hagoromo, Hamura, awaken. A voice whispered. Brother. A woman screamed. My eyes flashed bright. The Otsutsuki robes burst into existence and a shakujo flashed into my hand and a horn grew from my forehead. I took a step. All the previous men disappeared, one man with white hair, a third eye atop his forehead. Robes like mine and the same shakujo as me. Hello Madara, he said with a smile. You are a reincarnation of me, you are the sage of 6 paths. You must bring peace to this world. Hashirama is within you. You must reunite the Biju, bring them within, then enter Kagaya's world and bring her soul to her, and she shall stop fighting. Hagoromo said. You will remember my past life, all I have done, all my training downloading into you, your abilities and mine are within you now, meditate, and you will access everything as if it were your own. Bring peace to this world through Uzushio. He said. I tried peace, we must try force now. He said. Your wife-to-be is the reincarnation of Hamura, my sister, often confused as a man. Your friend, Sasuke is of Indra, Mito of my other sister, Kaneshiki Otsutsuki, Haku is Asura Otsutsuki, Ino of Amaterasu Otsutsuki, and Shikamaru is Raijin though he is doomed, and, in this world, he has lost the zero-tail ability or any ability due to my seal. Though relation means nothing after reincarnation. They all have their past abilities but are still the same and remember of my eyes. They have the Rinnegan abilities, Sharingan abilities, Byakugan and a few Jogan abilities as well as others. You can activate and deactivate this form at will, and my shakujo can be summoned. Sage mode is yours to use although may be stronger, all summoning contracts are yours and every jutsu in the book. Remember to collect the beasts and form the 10-tailed beast. After the wedding, we had spent a lot of time bond. It turns out Susanoo had meant that my Rinnegan would have the Hagoromo abilities. Speaking of Hagoromo, I can't believe I, Madara, had been made the reincarnation. But now I have to prepare us to move the base and the family. Uzushio waits us. We must go the long way or they will sense us. Tomorrow was the day, we had to prepare. Nothing to leave behind. Jiji had already taken the base into a cavern in the mountains of Uzushio via a different version of Haration. I started training. I ran at the team as we practiced and I was invisible, I stood behind Mito and she was already gone. I rushed everyone, a Rasengan in my hand. I shoved it into Mito who was running at me but lost my balance as I discovered it to be an afterimage. Hey, you were going to shove that in my stomach. She asked with her arms crossed as she stood on the tree branch of training ground 7. No opponent gonna show you mercy. I said nonchalantly. Besides you wouldn't feel it as we put the no harm seal on all of us, so no jutsu hurts the other. I ran over until Kakashi stopped me. Let's eat lunch. You're paying, Kakashi-sensei. Yeah. My poor wallet. You came up with the idea. As we continued on our way to Ichiraku's, we continued our friendly banter and every time I saw the jade ring on Natsumi's finger, a dreamy smile appeared on my face and she seemed to notice as moved closer and hung her arm around mine and I could see all the men staring jealously at me. I glared back with my eyes crimson. I continued after she just annoyed them, kissed me. I could see some on the verge of ripping their hair out and I smirked. As we finally reached it. Been a long time, Naruto, my favorite customer. And of course we can't forget Mito. Tucci said. Thanks Ichiraku-san. We replied. Told you to call me Tucci, didn't I? He asked with a small cross-popping vein on his forehead. That's why we do it Ichiraku-san. Why you? He said struggling to say words and then we all burst out laughing as the regular banter ended. We enjoyed our food and it made me smile solemnly, today was the last day they could ever enjoy. From tomorrow, we became fugitives. It really hurt me that I had to bring Natsumi and Mito into this. I would always fight with Sasuke by my side. Ino was for Sasuke to protect, I already had 2 girls in my care. Not that I wouldn't protect her. After we had finished our meal, we started walking home. When a boy with red hair and the kanji for love on the corner of his forehead. Who are you? Ara. Name? Naruto. Not you. Sasuke. Wouldn't suggest pushing Naruto to the side. He can beat anyone in the village. I will crush you in the Chunin exams. He disappeared in a swirl of sand. I looked at where he was standing and continued home as did the others, which was now in Uzushio, but could still be accessed here. Tomorrow, I will cure your countries. To a bright sunny day, but it would be anything but. I will destroy Konoha today. I got dressed in a gold haori with a silver shirt with a gold Uzumaki swirl and a grey hakama. I had already eaten and left joining with the others. I had my seal which would transform my clothes into Madara's old armor. I walked over to Mito's room and she was still snoring. I tried to get her up by knocking on the door extra loud, but she was still asleep. I took the clown horn and honked as a loud noise woke Mito up. What was that for? Chunin exams, today. Oh, right. Come on Mito. I will get dressed. But don't do that again. No promises. As she set off to get dressed, I wandered around until I found Natsumi's room. I knocked and Natsumi answered. Hello Madara. Hey Natsumi. How are you? Nervous? I feel the same. We can do it. Together, besides, Madara will be hidden in the crowd and Tsunade will be next to Hiruzen, as well as my mom and dad being resurrected to help. We also have each other. I said and she nodded with a determined look. As we decided to go the diner, Madara had already made himself look like a random citizen. Unknown to any as he saw him, decades ago. Tsunade looked the same except deep down underneath an armor was hidden by a camouflage seal. Jiraiya was said to be visiting, he had already been debriefed on the plan, but he was our inside man. He was our spy master. We had gone over the plan twice before we set out for the Chunin arena. As we walked, Ino had her embroidered leather scabbard and her sword would be summoned every time she reached for it. Natsumi had her locket which was insanely powerful, thanks to me, the phoenix and the dragons. As we finally reached it, Kakashi stood there and did the hand sign saying he was ready to help, good luck. We all nodded hoping our voices aren't gonna let us down on how nervous we were. We walked in and sat in our own corner, away from Gaara and Shikamaru who was glaring at us while trying to ask Temari out and getting slapped. Persistently until he was knocked out. The man walked into the middle of the arena with a terrible cough and a floppy hair. Hello everyone, I am henged. I will be cough, sorry for that, I will be your proctor for this, but first there will be preliminaries. He started coughing again as many students started expressing their distress. The Hokage stepped up and started a speech, quiet down, today is momentous occasion, fear not of elimination, out of the tournament, you all stand for your country's pride. You stand in where your Kage would have stood in the battlefield. Today you fight a war substitute. Instead of fighting in a war, you all stand here today, ready to uphold your country's honor. You shall up to there is where I was listening before I started daydreaming. Until, that is, when I heard my name after all the other matches my name was called, Naruto Uzumaki vs Sakura Haruno. You made a mistake on the screen. I said to the proctor although everyone can hear me. Your name is Naruto Uzumaki. Hate replied. No, it is Madara Uzumaki-Uchiha-Senju. Son of Minato Uchiha-Senju and Kushina Uzumaki. Directly related to Madara Uchiha, Tsunade Senju, Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, Ashina Uzumaki and Midoran Uzumaki. I said as I let my war armor out. Does this remind you of anyone? I said aloud with a smirk. Yeah, as if you are related to 3 of the Hokages. You just a baka with nothing better to do. You probably were abandoned by some rando woman who slept with every guy she sees and father some useless drunk. Don't make me laugh with that, Minato Senju Uchiha, business, the Yondai Mei-sama was not a Senju nor Uchiha, he was Namikaze, baka. I disappeared in a blitz. Sakura, do you know of a dojutsu called the Rinnegan? I asked with a kunai to her neck. No, it doesn't exist, she said still forceful. I smacked her to the side. I slapped and here I shined to where she would fly and kept doing this until she was bruised. I pulled a chain out and wrapped it around her neck as hate ran into my barrier bubble, trying to stop me. I tied it around and choked her, you are my dog. You have no rights to lie for anything understand? I said. Yes. Say, yes master. Yes master. But dog. I said as she scowled. I then kicked her with 100% of my strength and held my chain. Killing her in seconds. Though the chain broke and her body flew through the air, landing in a bandit camp. I turned around. I am the child of Minato Senju Uchiha and Kushina Uzumaki, want to see? I asked. I prepared the necessary hand signs and smashed it into the ground as I activated my dojutsu, Kuchiyus. Rinito Tensei. I said as I slammed it on the floor. Two boxes arose and out came Kushina and Minato, except without the cracks it usually has. They looked like they had woken up from sleep. Ka-san, Tu-san, the time has come. I said. They nodded. No doubt, you questioned my son. I can assure you, he is correct. I am Minato Senju and not Namikaze. He is my son. Madara and Tsunade are my parents. For the crimes you have committed to my son you will pay. Minato said in his famous clothes. He looked at me and I nodded. Then all three of us vanished, Chibaku Tensei. A sphere of dark matter flew into the air, earth collected from houses and rocks. I threw it at the Hokage monument. I ran to the Hokage office and released my Shinra Tensei, utterly annihilating it. I brought out my summons. Kuchius no Jutsu. I yelled, depleting 1/6 of my chakra. A giant dragon roar and a phoenix call was heard. Ryu, I need you to run rampage on the food supply. Hinatori, burn up every river. When done, come back here and greet your proper size. I said. They both flew off. You see, every summon has a true size but never shows it. Gamabunta is tall, but he could be way bigger. Big enough to sit on a city and his head in the clouds. I ran forward and I transformed into the Otsutsuki robes halfway. I rose above all Konohagakure. Look above, look at the new Rakuto Sennin, your new sage of 6 paths. I am the reincarnation of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. I shall do as he did via different paths, but today you shall fear me for your past actions. I said as Ino, in her robes but showed some stomach, and had a shakujo with the rings in it, and she had somehow wakened the Rinnegan, and hers was green. Sasuke had the Magatma necklace, Natsumi had a shakujo that had T-shape with 2 verticals on the opposite ends of the T-Mito, had the red chains, and a third eye that was glowing blue. She also had a neon blue sword that had hilt that looked like a phoenix head. Everyone looked upwards and gasped. We looked like the Rakuto Sennin and his children. I released a toxic gas which knocked everyone in Konoha out, and we all here I shined to my base in training ground 7. I entered and saw everyone here. What did you mean the new sage of 6 paths? Mom asked. I am the new one, appointed by Hagoromo himself. I said. Whilst we awakened our Mangekyo, Hagoromo met us in his own Kamui and told us about our mission and our realities. Uzushio is to rule this world. Mito answered. Okay, I think I understand, but I need some to think this over, but in the meantime let's wait here and celebrate. Kushina said with a smile. Later on, as we celebrated our departure from Konoha, Kakashi joined, finally free from his lifelong depression. He shed tears of joy after seeing the Yondaime. Also the first Hokage to go rogue. We celebrated late into the night, and eventually Tsunade and Madara joined in helping me explain my marriage to Natsumi. At first the mock disdain of her, before they hugged her and welcomed her. They took notice of the locket and gave me a look of approval. After all, I had improved my locket to contain her picture. We all stood up and knew that the villages would wake up now. Ryu and Hinatori grew to their full size. Gamabunta was summoned and he too full to their full size. Manda was summoned by Sasuke and he grew to full size. Ino summoned the owl head, Fukuro, and Natsumi summoned Takashi. As Fukuro and Takashi grew, all of the summons stood, surrounding all of Konoha, Mito standing on the phoenix whilst I stood on the dragon. Susanoo grew into his Kurama mode, and Kushina stood on top. As well surrounded Konoha as they woke up. Hiruzen tried to attack us, but it didn't even make us flinch. People forget the might of summons, but they are just as powerful as the Biju, and now we have 6 summons and a Biju. Don't you dare come after us. I said in a deep booming voice as Kurama snarled and Ryu roared as Fukuro, Takashi and Hinatori let out their calls, and Gamabunta took out his sword. Manda let his lone rattle out enough to be heard. Almost all of the villagers bowed down, bow not, for we are not God. But fear us, you should. We shall destroy any who should dare run after us, Hiruzen. You will not live to see the dawn of tomorrow, and my Amaterasu lit up on his body, and I aimed my hand at him, Shinra Tensei. He flew into my hand, and I knocked his staff monkey, Enma, out of his hand. You crossed me, now you die. I aimed him at the sky as he tried to fight, but he was burning, downgrading his attacks. Please Naruto, have some mercy on old man. Hiruzen said, pleading. Who would have thought the man, hailed as the god of shinobi, was actually a spluttering baby at the door of death. It shows nobody is really God. When you meet death, tell him, he got your name wrong. I said before letting my wordless Bancho Tenin fling him into the sky to be struck by lightning, which incinerated him. After all, he was already being burnt by Amaterasu as well. Danzo looked at us and decided we were threats, civilians forced into their houses, as thousands of Na filed out of the Hokage's noses and eyes and ears and the other monuments. They all gathered into the forest for cover, and I raised my hand bring up the land they stood on, and Hinatori froze them, while Ryo burnt them all to ashes spread out across. Shikamaru, as smart as he was, tried to shadow possess the Kyuubi. Which did not work. He was flung backwards into the center of the village. I walked down and focused on the one-tails and people who reek of affiliation. All of a sudden Gaara stood before me, Temari and Kankuro as well. Do you wish to be rid of the curse and have a night spent sleeping? I asked Gaara. Yes. But mother wishes for blood always. I slapped a seal on Gaara's stomach and yellow and beige-ish color glowed and sand swirled around and it went to the seal until it said, Biju in the middle. I took it and put it in my kamui. I turned to Temari, you have love for your brother. I said and she nodded. You have wretched fear and uselessness in you. I said as I turned to Kankuro and released and put a carpet of sand underneath to cushion his fall. Kodamatsukami. I said and I planted in them that they had been friends with us for long and only we care for them. I wiped Temari's fear of Gaara and Gaara's melancholy. I left only the fact that I brought them to a better life, but before that I asked if they consent and they nodded wishing to be gone of past memories. Gaara turned and stood next to us. I sensed the 8 and 2 tails as well. I could feel good feelings to their partner. I held out my hand, their chakra was sucked right into my hand. The Biju as well, though their life force stayed only a fraction of their personality, came with their chakra to me. Therefore, not upsetting the Biju as much. I had now collected 9, 8, 2 and 1 tail. I could actually do it. As the land raised was put down. I put my hand out again pulling somebody to me. The girl with blonde hair and the Kumo headband appeared before, Yujito, I know of everything you feel and ever felt. You have hidden hate for Kumo as they treat you different because of your Biju. I have left you your companion and half of her chakra. Join me. We will spare who you ask. You can join the land of peace without anything. Jinchuriki are our friends. None may harass nor treat you different, that is the Senju promise, with a Uchiha pride of not breaking and the Uzumaki peace loving on top. I said with a grin. I could give it a try. She said with a shrug. You may leave without any repercussions at any point you may wish. I said. Pillar B, from one Jinchuriki to another I understand the ties you may have with your brother, I only wish that should war come you do not come against us. I said as I pulled him and let him down after I finished. I looked up and did a thumbs up with a smile. Beware Konoha. I said. All of us, the summons, Kurama, the Jinchuriki, every one of us who were infiltrating or joined us, disappeared. The summons went back, Kurama receded into me, I put us all in my kamui before we even started to fall, as the summons smoke hit us. All of our stuff was already at Uzushio and awaited us at our family home. Due to the fact that for all of us to teleport to Uzushio, would one leave us to prone to accidentally separating and ending up in a tree or half in Uzushio and other elsewhere, or just simply end up somewhere else, and our new version has not been tested. So we took the longest passage out of Konoha, and I activated my seal which would place this base in an already prepared cavern in Uzushio, and it would still be hidden. I placed my hand on the door wall and it disappeared. Gaara had started to speak, Uzumaki Naruto, why did you help us? Gaara said next to Temari, Jinchuriki are my family, besides Uzumaki are known to be extra generous. I said with a smile though still thinking bitterly back to my childhood. I still had a lot to get rid of. Even though I had dealt a blow to Konoha, it did not feel quite right or ease me. Oh how I wished the hatred would leave, no matter how happy or momentous the occasion was bitterness and hatred ran rampant in my heart, only Mito had an inkling. After a moment's pause, I also helped because I know what it is like to be treated like the worst kind of demon or scum for something out of your control. So the truth is Gaara, I am just like you, except of the most powerful Biju hence the most powerful hate, the QB no Kitsune rests within me, and only us, as Jinchuriki truly understand the meaning of the word, only we can delve into its meaning, and it is also we who can unlock our Biju's power. I turned to Yujito. Yujito Nai, Jinchuriki of the Two Tails, named Matatabi by Hagoromo-san, Akka the Sage of Six Paths, affiliated with Kumagakure, known to be on close terms with the Raikage, friends with Killer Bee, treated as lowest class citizen, overpriced for cheap stuff, insulted and abused at a younger age, grew up being poisoned by the Raikage's lies of loyalty to the village, and raised in belief of the will of lightning, which was adapted from Uzushio's will of harmony, as was all other wills of the villages, grew up to be the number 2 jonin, second only to Killer Bee and has become what is known as a perfect Jinchuriki, meaning you and your Biju are on friendly terms, and you can count on your Biju. You have held no small amount of hatred for Kumo ever since Hinata's attempted kidnapping, eventually coming to adore Naruto Uzumaki, learning of Kushina Uzumaki's attempted kidnapping, helped further cement your hate for Kumo, until before the Chunin exams, you learned of Uzushiagakure's fall at the hands of Kumo, and for what reason making you decide that after the Chunin exams, you would not return to Kumo. I said reciting the info I had learned of Yujito. When I turned to look at her, she was shocked and her mouth hanged open. I looked around and her expression was mirrored by everyone around as we walked. What? Madara, answer very carefully, have you been stalking Yujito? Natsumi said, a dark aura surrounding her and all of a sudden the extremely cold room felt really hot. And no, I wasn't, I promise, I swear, I wasn't. IW was just trying to learn my opponent. Meanwhile Kushina giggled, seems there is Uzumaki in you yet. Petting Natsumi's shoulder. Mito, where was your help? I asked quietly, making sure Natsumi couldn't hear. Sorry, but brother, I enjoyed that show, why stop it? She said with a smirk, meanwhile Sasuke smirked from the side. Arapov. Ara, meanwhile, was watching this, so this is family, this is the meaning of the bond that connects family, this is the true familial love, not fear. As he started to understand, tears started to fall. Oh, father, why did you have to try to kill me? Why couldn't you love like any parent, their child? If you were still alive I would beg of you to finally understand, but as the final punishment to me, you died before I could understand the essence of family. The only family I can cling onto is Tamari, she is the only human that ties me to this life, the only capable of stopping me from transforming into a mindless beast. She is a third of who I am. The other third, other than myself, is my undetermined love. But should I ever find love is a mystery, but contentment has finally reached me. The grace of familial love, no longer a stranger. I thought. Tamari now looked at me, finally noticing my tears, and took me into a kind and loving embrace as the mental barrier I had put against everybody broke down and a gush of emotions was let loose, but quietly, only Tamari could my soft wails as I cried into my older sister's shirt. As my flood of emotions calmed from the raging waves it had previously been, thank you, Tamari, you loved me always, for who I am, not what I did or hated me over father and uncle's death. I said in a low voice. By now Madara had noticed but tried to distract the group from Gaara, to which I am grateful for. She hugged back even fiercer, Gaara, you are my younger brother. Of course I would try and help my lost brother back to the right path. My love for you was there, but your unstable seal, to which we have our accursed father to blame, had clouded your eyes, but always remember that I will always be there for you through and through. She said as she separated and raised a fist, to which Gaara stared at, perplexed. You bump it with your fist. She said. I raised my fist and bumped it tentatively, whilst Naruto watched. Madara Naruto Pav. I am lucky to have Mito as a sister, just as Gaara is lucky to have Tamari. I thought. When we finally came out, Minato and I teleported to the seal I had Plasak at the border of a Megakure. As I took a deep breath and let Susanoo replenish my chakra and gave some of it flow into Minato. As we walked on, I saw a scene of which had two boys, one of whom had the distinguishable Uzumaki hair and had a kunai, whilst another boy was trying to get the red-haired boy to kill him as a man in a mask, who could be recognized as Hanzo was pointing to a girl above a seal, which could burn off a person's feet. A man whom I hated with every fiber of my being stood next to him, Danzo Shimura. I turned to my father, father, I will bring the girl to me, you go and get rid of Danzo's root. Mom and you guys help him, whilst I help those boys. I said as everyone nodded. I aimed my palm at the girl, as a warning to the boys and girls I said it out loud, Bancho Tenon. The girl's chain which had held her over the seal, snapped as she flew to me, and I set her down, don't worry, you are safe. I said soothingly. I jumped down as Minato slid down the cliff we stood, and Danzo cursed recognizing us. I ran at the boys, don't worry, we will help, but help us, help you. Everything will be explained afterwards. I said. The two older boys nodded and started their vicious attack as Susanoo's bloodthirst came out to play. Want to dance? I asked as he looked. Of course. Within a few minutes a small squad of Danzo's root and Hanzo were retreating in different direction, obviously Danzo being protected by his root. Hello, I am Madara Uzumaki-Uchiha. Nagato looked at me in shock, son of Kushina Uzumaki. Well, that would be me, his mom. Kushina said as she stepped forward and was engulfed in a hug immediately. I missed you, Kushi-Oba-san. Then Nagato-san, is that you? Kushina said with a shocked expression. Yes, Oba-san. Can someone explain what in the hell is happening here? I asked. Well, Madara, this is your cousin, Nagato Uzumaki. Kushina said as Nagato extended a hand with a smile and a hint of purple was seen from his eyes, signaling the Rinnegan. I extended my hand and shook it. Hey, aren't we forgetting about the better sibling, Mito Uzumaki-Senju? Mito said. Nobody forgot about you, the older Uzumaki twin, who is obviously the best, had to greet our cousin first. No, I am better and the Senju clan leader should say be the one to greet first. But he isn't even Senju. Oh, right. She said, scratching the back of her head in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Nagato was watching this. So the Uzumaki live once more, my aunt lives where my mom doesn't. My dad ran where he should have stayed. The life of Uzumaki are truly treacherous, but all of our paths lead to peace, what we do afterwards is in our hands. Most Uzumaki are content with peace, but some like that of Nobu Uzumaki decide to destroy that peace. But where there are bad, there is always good. He continued to think deeply about Uzumaki trait, and afterwards, after it all finished, he did the one thing he had craved for years. He gave all of them, his aunt, as well as 2 cousins, in a hug. Mito and the others quieting down and melting into it and hugging back as Yuhiko gave his friend some time and helped Konan out of her chains, which had been wrapped around her, and they watched from above the family which was reforming again. Yuhiko walked down. "You know, it is nice to see that main family of our Uzumaki clan has not died out," Yuhiko said. "Yuhiko Uzumaki, cousin to Nagato, and also you," Yuhiko said, extending his hand to me. "Well, of course I am the clan head. I am a grandson of Ashina Uzumaki, son of Kaida Uzumaki, nephew of Kushina and Kimiko Uzumaki," he said. "I am also the leader of the Akatsuki," he said. "What is the Akatsuki?" I asked. "It is a group of S to A rank shinobi, mercenary or criminals which are under my command. Our goal is to bring peace to this world. We will collect the 9 biju, either a piece or all of them, to create the 10 tails, making the world fear us and follow our rules which ensure peace reigns above all," he said. "We do not intend for us to actually use it, but only to make the villages fear us," he said to reassure everyone. "I believe we can help each other. You see, I have the 9, 8, 2, 1 tails. BT, I will only give you a portion of every tailed beast's chakra that I take. You will also be paid and looked after by Uzushio, and you have freedom to base yourself and ask for assistance from Uzushio, but you must make sure when you become known that you go by Uzushio's name, as well as do missions for Uzushio. Don't worry, you can pass some, except a few of which need your expertise. You must also not ask what I do with the tailed beasts I collect, and I can assure you that the Jinchuriki aren't harmed," I said, already businesslike. "That is an unpassable deal," Yuhiko replied as he shook my outstretched hand. "Very well then, Yuhiko Uzumaki, I look forward to working with you. The pleasure is all mine, Uzumaki-sama," he replied with a mock bow. "At least if you insist on the sama, make it Naruto or Madara. Actually, you know what, dump the sama," I said. "Very well, Uzumaki-sama," Yuhiko responded with a cheeky grin. "Oh no, don't start that. Are you sure, Uzumaki-sama?" Sasuke said with a smirk. "Oh come on," I said, mock pouting. "Don't worry, it should die down soon, Uzumaki-sama," Mito and Kushina said, giggling. "Not you two, traitors." This continued for an hour before Mito, Kushina, Naruto and Minato teleported everyone to the borders of Kiri. Kushina turned around and placed her palm on a tree which the clan symbols of Uzumaki-Uchiha-Senju, Yuki and Terumi. 3 of those symbols glowed, and in a variation of Kamui, we stood in a dark room of endless expanse, and before us stood a man. He was wearing a red cloak, he had red hair which looked almost like younger Grandpa Madara, Sasuke bangs from in Boruto. Next generation, he had a mask which covered his face. The mask had intricate drawings of the QB, next to him stood 8 others, all of which had masks which resembled the other biju. The one with the QB had a black shirt and black hakam with an indigo obi and a beautiful sword which also had drawings of the Kyubi. "State the password," he said. "Stand down before your leader. The password for the main family is. The dark is dark, the bright is bright, but none can ever achieve eternal light," I said. I summoned the dragon sword, and Mito summoned the phoenix shield. Immediately all of them knelt down. "The main family has returned to Uzushio. Sound the bell, ring the gong, summon the sages, summon the elders, summon the clan heads, summon the Anbu, summon the shinobi. A momentous day has arrived," the Kyubi mask said. The 8 behind him left in blur of speed, leaving only an afterimage. "Let us bring you to the royal changing rooms and bring you into the ceremonial clothing." Yujito, Gaara, Konan, Temari, Ino, Sasuke, Natsumi, Haku and Zabuza were left before I told the Kyubi masked man. "Natsumi is my wife, Ino is the Senju clan leader, Sasuke is the Uchiha clan Sekonborn, Haku is the Yuki clan heir. Temari and Gaara are the heirs of their new clan, which is to be held of prestige and is part of the Jinchuriki clan. Zabuza is an honorary member of the Yuki clan, and Konan is an honorary member of the Uzumaki, as well as a Senju main family clan member. Yujito is part of a newly founded and should be prestigious Jinchuriki clan. As you can see, we brought people of prestige." As they were taken by extra clones, I found myself in a room with furniture of golden lining and silver as main. I opened the wardrobe, and as a servant came to dress me, "I can do it myself, but thank you," I said as he looked at me, grateful. I guess that his new ruler is not tyrannical, and thank you is natural to his tongue. I put on a black shirt. I had a red kimono which showed quite a bit of the black shirt. And black hakama with an orange obi, as well as a long gold haori with a silver Uzumaki swirl at the back. I also knew it was very frowned upon for the leader of Uzushio to leave the Uzu regalia. I resummoned the dragon sword and summoned the phoenix sword. I put them on my hips crisscrossing, so that it was horizontal but diagonal. I put on the plain crown, which was a gold circle, but where it started it was low, and it had an arrow facing downwards, whilst the top part had an arrow facing upwards, and it had a gap in between the two separate looking bands. They are connected, but look separate, like Sun Wukong's crown, it is like spiral upwards. I also had a staff which was reminiscent of Hagoromo's or mine now. It was a gold staff and had the 9 Biju colors which swirled around the staff in seemingly random swirls. At the top the 9 colors converged to look like a wolf, and the bottom of it had 10 tails as if petrified whilst they were swinging, which was rumored in Uzumaki lore to be a wolf called Shinju, that the destructiveness is created when the beasts are assembled for evil intentions. I left to walk outwards, and I took the time to talk to the Uzumaki Anbu. "Hello, what is your name?" "I am known as Kaido Uzumaki, commander of the QB forces, part of the Biju elite, my lord." Taiman, now known as Kaido, said. "Please elaborate." "There are 9 essential forces that exist before the general forces, which are separated by the Uzushio summoning animals. The Kyubi force are the head of attack and generally front line. The Hachibi forces are the sealing masters, the ones in charge of Uzushio's overall seals. The Nanabi forces are in command of the air forces as the support force, in command of making war weapons or general inventions, have made the new flying boots and wings, which can make them stay and fight in the air for extended periods of time. The Rakubi are the ones who make the bombs, generally corrosive and killing bombs or smoke bombs. The Gobi forces are the diversion force. They are capable of attack, but are meant to distract enemies for whatever reason. The Yanbi forces are the lava forces, generally the Terumi clan, they are the backup, they can attack and defend. The Sanbi forces look after the seas, they can make the seas attack navy warships, like marine soldiers. The Nibi forces are also backup, they can attack or defend, but they generally go for attack like the Yanbi forces. The Ichibi forces are the defense, they are our main defense, and our last line defense as well, they handle all the defenses. We also have the Ryubi forces, a collection of all the people of Uzushio who have demon transformation within them. They are also generally attack. The general forces are below the Biju forces, and the commanders of all the Biju forces make the elite or Shinju teams. The Biju forces are made up of people who are S rank, and in Uzushio that is like 6/7 of the population. Kaido explained. The general forces hierarchy will be explained later, now we have to get to your coronation. Kaido said. "Are you ready, Millard?" Kaido asked. "For what?" I replied. "For this," he said as he threw his cloak in the air, and as it touched us and the bottom corners floated to the floor, he grabbed it as it managed to touch the floor and swung back around his shoulder as my surroundings changed. "I hope you know standard ceremonial Uzumaki procedure. Now be choose as the main family in about 1 hour, who shall be what." As I walked over to the decision chambers, as I will call it, I saw my mom in a red overflowing kimono, a crown which looked like a peacock's tails. It had thin kites connected to make a semicircle. Mito was wearing a red kimono with her hair tied up in a bun and 2 hair needles in it, looking like a Mito was reincarnated in her prime except without red hair, just red tips, and after Mito and I had gotten Mito the namesake S strength of 800 seal, Natsumi was dressed in a white flowing kimono, her hair was tied up in a bun like Mito, old or new, you choose. She had received a sword which was given as a gift from the Hyuga. A blade of which would let any who hold its handle see what who they were facing do next, almost like Genjutsu, and it would show best ways to annihilate said person. She had an ancient summoning. Minato was there wearing a modified version of his Hokage robes with the Uchiha, Senju and Uzumaki clan symbols merged and as the spotlight, and he had a toad contract on his back to signify his bringing of a new contract to Uzushio. Nagato had entered wearing a red cloak, on top of it with black clouds and a black hakama with a white obi and 3 katana tied to his back. First of all, we know Madara has to be the Senkage, that is decided. We know Mito will be the clan head, with Madara as a part of the council as per tradition. I will also be a part of the Uzumaki council. Sadly Minato isn't Uzumaki, so he would become the first member of the Yondaime Senkage's council. Thought it would be funny if they are both the Yondaime. Nagato will be the Shadow Kage, protecting Uzushio, like Sasuke and Boruto. Next gen. As well as co-leading the Akatsuki. Just then Yahiko entered wearing the same as Nagato, but with a Hita-ite that had a semicircle and the wavy lines. Nagato had a Hita-ite with a crescent moon and wavy lines to signature them, as the heads were as Conan would have a different one. Yahiko shall be our outside spy, whatever the other shinobi villages tell him or scheme shall come to us through them, trust in them we shall, for the blood of the red-haired nation runs through them. To that Yahiko and Nagato nodded as Yahiko and Nagato left. They were not to be officially recognized until after the Juubi was with us. Now that we had decided, I couldn't think of how to summon Kaido, so I talked to the guards outside my room, and Kaido appeared in a burst of wind. "We have decided." I handed the sheet to Kaido, and we walked up deeper into the room we were in, and he placed a hand on the wall, and a passage opened. It was as we were walking upwards that I realized how little of Uzushio we knew, as every time we came, we had told the guards a different name and password, and under a Genjutsu. We also never ventured deep as we had saved that for this moment or close to this moment. When we finally reached the top, we saw an office which had a view of all of Uzushio, though you could tell it was hidden in rocks, as it looked as if the windows were built in a crevice or opening the mountain. In the middle stood a chair with golden frames and red plushy cushions, with a Uzumaki swirl on both the front and back of the backrest, and is that what it's called? In front of it was a table again with the Uzumaki swirl carved into the wood of the table. It also had portraits of the 3 past Senkage, Mito, the Shodai Senkage, Susanoo, the Nidaime Senkage and Ashina, the Sandaime, all of which are related to me. Soon enough a portrait of me would be up there, obviously Mito would do it with me as we do everything together, but it was a frightening thought, me having to lead millions up against the world. I mean leading 6, 5 or 4 people is hard, but the leading this many is going to be straight up menacing. But as the second heir of the Uzumaki clan, prince of the Senju clan, lowest heir of the Uchiha clan and head of the Jinchuriki clan, it was upon my hands to do this. I will rise, Uzushio through me shall become a beacon of light to all those to follow, but very light has a shadow, the shadow I shall cast shall eliminate all enemies. For that is my ninja way, that is my will of harmony. Hashirama wished for me to be the new sage, and Kas and want me to lead Uzushio with a mighty iron fist. Madara Oji wants me to show the might and justice as well as kindness of the Uchiha. Tsunade Ba wants me to lead the Senju to its former mighty. Asura and Indra want me to lead their reincarnates, to reconcile. Amaterasu wants me to bring an age where nature is protected. Although they may be heavy and need a lot out of me, I will make them happen in order to bring to this world a safety never seen before, a place wherein of all kinds can live in peace. The elemental nations are just a small part of the world, we will venture the world and learn of its power as we grow older and the shinobi era has ended. But now we must focus on our grand plan of which 2 components are missing. As we stepped onto a platform, our crowns were removed and we were told of the procedures. It will start of a speech by the new Senkage, a speech from the clan heads, the dragon and phoenix sage elders, and their main summons testing if he is worthy. A ceremonial Yazunakan dance, traditionally done with a male and 2 females of importance to the Senkage, from the Senkage, and the Senkage must go into sage mode with either the phoenix or dragon summons. Lastly, he must display a seal of his creation. People of Uzushio, from the Uzumaki to the Terumi, I would like to say that I hope you all will enjoy an infinite era of peace of prosperity after my death. During my reign, I ask for you to brace yourselves. I do not seek war, but by the sage himself, an order has arrived. The peaceful Uzushio shall show its might. We have the power of all the villages, but soon, we will be stronger. I ask all of you to be ready, for a week after my ascension to the title of Senkage, I shall start my campaigns, but worry not, I promise personally everyone shall come back to their homes, I shall make sure of that personally. I also promise to you all that despite of my peaceful personality, I will raise this planet to ensure your safety. I have brought with me, the famous Slug Princess, an extreme advancement of medicine, Konoha's Yellow Flash, an ascension in power and name, Konoha's Fiery Demon, an advancement in strength, the Uchiha clan, an additional salt of influence, Suna's strongest defense, Gaara, the Princess of the Wind, Tamari, the Obsidian Demon King and Demon Queen, your Senkage, and the Uzumaki clan head. The Beauty Queen as well as the Ice Queen shall join you, Ino Senju and Natsumi Hyuga, respectively. Konoha Uchiha Prodigy, the Crimson-Eyed Reaper, Sasuke Uchiha. Your Senkage and his team, the Demon Syndicate, have been selected by Hashirama Otsutsuki himself to lead Uzushio to freedom. To lead it to a world where all shall be fair and under the Uzushio principles. So look forward, Uzushio, I beckon my hand towards you, I hold before you, not lust for power, but desire to show the world an era of peace never seen before. I shall become your beacon of light, and I cannot stress before you the importance of cooperation between us, as village and Senkage, we must be in complete sync for us to actually achieve this dream. I said as I recited my completely out of the top of my head sincere speech, entirely from the heart. As I pointed a finger at the sky, a stream of fire made the Uzushio symbol, and in this story, Uzushio and Uzumaki symbol are different, fire soon turning to water, and as the Uzushio symbol started to fall, it formed a long lash of which I used form a dance, where I stood above everyone. I summoned Ryu and Hinatori, we danced around as my light skips around the border of the arena, twirling with the water as it followed like a ribbon trail. I jumped into the middle of the arena, still above of everybody. I summoned 4 clones, my chakra chains extended out, forming 9 of those chains from my lower back and encased them in water, whilst the other clones were the same except a different element. As I threw my staff into the air, holograms of the 9 Bijuu sprung out, and as a new addition to the Yazunakan dance, I transformed into the Otsutsuki robes, except it was mainly black instead of white, and the 9 Magatma were orange, and a new addition was an orange obi, and the chakra chains still swirling as I merged the 2 staffs together. A sonic boom resounded without the usual destruction, as the staff had the Shikujo looks, except with a few new looks, such as where the crescent part of the Shikujo was at the center, where the main staff intersects a little, and a wolf head stood there, silver in color, at the top with the 6 rings, the giant ring in which the 6 rings were in, the part facing the sky was 10 tails like the staff had. The main part of the Shikujo was now in the same colors as the staff, 9 colors, swirls, converging at the head, and the 9 colors went to each their own tail, except with a newfound silver color going to the 10th tail. The crown I had on my head was morphed into a crown band, with 2 swirls connecting on the side of which they would have connected to make it a full circle. My golden Rinnegan was glowing brightly. I held out a fist, and each and everyone bumped their fists with him, with a few hesitating. As this happened, another sonic boom resounded as a visible bubble expanded. A sun and moon tattoo appearing on my palms. My hair, which was formerly black with red highlights, was now red with black tips and highlights, which took over most of the hair, looking like black lightning in a red storm. The Senkage must now be tested by the sage elders. Kaido said loudly, obviously trying to break the shock of 3 things that had never happened before. The Senkage hair changing, the Otsutsuki robes and all the tailed beast accepting. I walked back down, looking like I was gliding. As I reached down, a seal was put on me. My Infuinkai stayed exactly the same, but now a circle surrounded it and golden pigmentation surrounded my eyes, my Rinnegan flashing even brighter, entering its silver mode. The sun and moon seal started to glow before a circle surrounded them as well. My Infuin activated and black lines started to surrounded my face, the lines touched my eyebrow, chin, forehead and ears, Tsunade's Infuinkai. The circles started to glow gold and turn dimmer before flashing even brighter, but silver. The silver lines started to make the Infuinkai glow, before the glowing diamond turned gold, and the black lines turned silver. A pair of feathery wings burst out from my back. I also had scales covering my body before it melted into my body and disappeared, and a scaly gray tail grew from my lower back, Otsutsuki robes regrowing and a horn making itself visible, gold orbs with silver lines, looking like cracks embedded into the orbs. The staff as it was before started to glow before I could tell it merged and would stay before Kotsuyu, Gamabunta, Manda, Fukuro, Takashi, Ryu, Hinatori and an unknown lion stood out before they were absorbed into me, making me grow to 8 foot and even leaner than before, not rippling muscles, but extreme signs of muscles, but not overflowing. The seal glowed before I screamed in pain, arg. I screamed, it burned me, I literally burned before everyone's eyes, Kushina and the others running forward. When the flames stopped I was stoned and Natsumi, Mito and Kushina screamed and cried, whilst everybody else wept in silence. I was before a woman, she was eating a weird looking fruit from a tree, the surroundings were all grey and lifeless. After she ate, she exploded with power, she grew taller, robes newly adjusted, and a third eye grew from her, the Ren Sharingan. She looked at me, the fruit twists your mind into a power-hungry fool, take precautions, fight your yummy or embrace it. You and only you can, my children take interest in as do I cannot give you my powers, for it would endanger the natural balance. But I give you advice, I will come already consumed with hate and anger. Fix me, kill Zetsu and eat the fruit. She said before she disappeared and in real life, my body set aflames making everybody run backward before a portal of fire appeared and I walked out. I have died and been reborn, I am sorry for making you all worry. I said and despite everybody looking, Natsumi kissed me whilst Mito and Kushina hugged me, and Minato waited for a later date to speak to his son. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.